when I was still studying in university and in high school, I went to church. I went to a bunch of Bible studies, and a topic that gets talked about a lot is trust and trusting in God. And the discussions would always come up with questions such as where was the time where you needed to trust in God, and how did you learn how to trust in God, or a situation. So we would go around in circles and talk about like personal experiences and how we reacted to those situations, and kind of insert our own perspective on how we trusted God in that scenario. And I think my perspective has changed since then. I want to say it's because when I was studying, I did not fully understand what it meant to trust. Or let me rephrase that. I did not really understand what it meant to trust in God, because my life was very certain. And by certain, I mean I had my life planned out. At least I knew what I was gonna do up to a year in advance. So when I was in high school, I would go to college. After college, I would go to uni, and then I would find a job, blah blah blah. So in every stage of my life, I knew what progress was, and how I would be progressing. And it was not difficult for me to trust, because I did not understand what uncertainty was. And now I'm in a phase of my life where it probably, I don't want to say for sure, because I'm so sure that my life will be still filled with uncertainty and confusion. But after graduating from university, completing a work and travel program, I've come back to my home country, trying to find a job, and all my friends around me have jobs, and a lot of them have lifelong partners, and I just broke up with someone I thought I would see the rest of my life with. But being in this stage of my life right now kind of puts a new perspective on the word trust, and especially and in particular trusting in God. I think I learned so much from my time in the US, and it was an amazing experience, and it probably is the best time of my life over there. And one thing that I learned, and I think God has put this in my mind, which is being picky. And my whole life, I think I kind of lived in a way where I accepted things that were happening to me without a second thought. So my past 2 internships that I did, I kind of accepted the first offer that I got because I did not really know what I wanted, and I kind of accepted any person that would come into my life. So for example, in my past relationships, if a guy showed interest in me and I liked them, I would be okay with it. I would be okay with dating them, regardless of like some small, like, if a guy liked me, and my standards were pretty low, if a guy liked me and they were funny, I would be okay with it. What I'm trying to get at is that I did not know how to be picky. And I promise you, I'll tie this in with, and I relate this to trusting in God, but yeah. And I kept noticing this pattern about myself. Like, I just accepted whatever happened into my life, which is good. Like, you should accept things, things that are out of your control. Yes. But I learned that there are certain things that are within your control, that you can choose to be picky about. And for a long time, I was unhappy with the choices I was making because, and I would blame God for it. So for example, if a guy treated me really badly, I would be very harsh towards God. I would say things like, why did you put this man in my life? Why is this happening to me? Why am I so sad over this guy? And I think it's because, I wasn't being picky enough. I wasn't being picky of what I let in my life. What I let in my life and what I keep in my life. And I noticed that when I was abroad and I was living with my friend, and I truly understood what it's like to be picky. So I'm gonna give an example. I was so ready. So for my work and travel program, we had to pick a job that we would like, and we would work in that job for 3 months and then travel and then go home. But the job we wanted mattered because that's what we'd be doing for like 3 months. So you don't want to choose to be a housekeeper because that would be really tiring. And I was so ready to settle for the first job that was offered to me. Until my friend, who we were gonna work together, she kind of put this was my first introduction to someone being picky or some being careful with what they let into their lives. And she was like, no, don't settle for any job. Choose a good job, and be picky. Don't settle. And I see this with a lot of my high achieving friends. They don't settle for the things that they don't want, and they're very picky about what they want. My friends are very picky with their partners. My friends are very picky with their jobs. And I observed this pattern among a lot amongst the, many of my peers. And I realized that this was not something that I was doing, and I had no idea, or like I did not realize that people were doing this. And I might be very naive to think that I would say I'm not a competitive person at all. Like, I don't care if I don't get the best, you know. But there are some people who are very competitive, and exposing myself to people like that really opened up my perspective on letting things into my life. And I don't want to be a competitive person. I don't think that's my nature, and I think I'll be very unhappy doing that. But what stuck with me is being, I don't want to say picky, or like just being very careful with what you let in your life. And let me see. Okay, I'm running low on battery, but okay. And so I kind of deduced that the reason why I was so quick to accept the first opportunity that comes along is because I was afraid that there won't be a better option. I was afraid that there won't be a good opportunity that passes by. And I was thinking a lot about this whole thing that I have about being picky and being choosy and being selective. I was so afraid. And I was kind of controlling my life. And I think that I knew better than God, because I wanted to control this aspect of my life, that I'm just going to hold on to this because nothing better is going to come along. And that mindset is very restrictive to have. Passing on an opportunity does not mean that there won't be a better opportunity that comes by. And this is like my new perspective on change and trust in God. I always thought that, you know, if I let go of this one thing, I'm gonna regret it. But what I don't realize is that I need to trust that God will provide a better opportunity. And a theme, okay, me being Christian and all, I like to study the Bible, and I like to find recurring themes throughout Bibles and the parables that I like to compare things from the New Testament and the Old Testament, and I love studying the Bible. And one thing that keeps popping up and is a theme that's throughout the Bible is that God works in the impossible. And so my mindset in not trusting God that a better opportunity will come, that's me not trusting in God. Let's say I give up the reason why I've been holding on to my past relationship for so long is because I don't believe that a better one will come along. I believe that this guy is good on paper, you know, but he wasn't treating me very well, and I believe that I wouldn't find someone like that, that was as good on paper ever again. But the thing is, it's supposed to look impossible. God works in the impossible, so we know that it was him all this time. God works in the impossible so that we can see his glory. And a story in the Bible that happens, that shows this theme, would be, you know, Moses being sold, Joseph being sold from his brothers. Sorry, I mix them up sometimes. Anyways, yeah, so Joseph was thrown in the jail for like years, like so long, and they forgot about him in there. But it is in the impossible that God works, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. It's supposed to look impossible. It's not supposed to be easy, and that's how God's glory will shine. And this is kind of like a brain unlock for me. I'm trying really hard right now because the job market seems impossible, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I think this is a point in my life where I just don't know what's gonna happen, and I don't see myself anywhere in the next year. Like I really don't know what's gonna happen. But I just have this strong belief that God is gonna take me through it, and I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna see God's glory work in my life. I was gonna say something, but I completely forgot. Yeah, so that's just something that's been on my mind recently. I honestly have no idea what's happening or what I'm gonna do, but it is by God's grace, and God has been taking care of me. I look back at my whole life and I see that God has taken care of me, and I just have to keep trusting in him and pulling myself through. Yeah, I'm sorry if this has been all over the place, but I just wanted to share how I felt and encourage someone who maybe is going through the same thing as I am. I just want to be really transparent and honest about whatever's been going on. But yeah, so thanks for watching.